Hello and welcome to Kessel Fun, the official podcast of the Star Wars Speculation subreddit. I'm Sam, and I'll be hosting this episode today.
Hi, I'm Liz.
Hi, I'm Todd.
Hi, I'm Lai.
So we have a few topics lined up for you guys today. The first is the production title change for episode 9, changing from The Black Diamond to Trixie. It's been recently reported by Screen Rant that the working title has now changed. JJ has changed it. So, what do you guys think Trixie might represent, if anything at all?
I kind of want to say it's maybe like an animal or something, or like some sort of character, like a porg or like a fathy or something like that. It sounds very cutesy and weird.
I mean, do we know that the working titles have any sort of meaning to the film anyway? I know that apparently, according to this article, the Black Diamond, which was quite heavily theorized on that it might mean something to do with Snoke's ring or something to do with the Dark Crystal, the film. Now apparently this is saying that it's a nod to the film's production company, Carbonado Industries. So that might mean that the Black Diamond literally had nothing to do with the plot of the film. So
That's boring.
maybe this whole speculation with what Trixie could mean is kind of pointless.
Yeah, they could have also changed it to throw off the scent as well.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a whole different line of conversation. Is like, why was it changed? Because why was it changed? I mean, it doesn't really. This has never happened before. It never got changed before.
Yeah, and it doesn't really feel like it was a necessary thing to have announced. It's something that not everyday people know. So to have that come out is kind of strange.
Right, it's like, hey, the Black Diamond didn't actually mean anything, guys. I don't know. I think you might be right there. I think you might be onto something because
It was just a weird thing to do, to have public and to have
Yeah,
a whole
Yeah.
article about it, that it was changed. It just seems very like a PR thing, like, oh, hey guys, look, new thing, you guys were wrong, ha ha ha.
yeah, because there was
Yeah.
that whole massive speculation that it was something to do with Snoke's ring, or it was referring to Ben being the Black Diamond, you know, the pressurized coal. I don't know. My only other theory about this was that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but possibly the Black Diamond being Colin Trevorrow's working title name, and then it was changed. I don't know. But then again, it does seem weird to report that anyway. And then they just explained that was the case.
I thought Colin got fired a long time before
Yeah.
the Black Diamond title came out, right?
I'm going to agree with that, but I don't think they'd have made a working title while Colin was actually working on the film, because I'm not even sure if a script was written back then. It was probably just the overall outline of the plot. They have highlighted the fact that it's Trixie with the I and the X capitalized. So, who knows? Maybe it's just something as silly as that it's, IX is 9.
I just thought it was, well, they changed the name because it has, maybe people were speculating too much about it, and they didn't want them to, if it didn't mean anything, or if it was just the...
Right, they were
name.
worried people, how they did with The Last Jedi when people were like, possibly over-speculating on certain aspects of the film, and they didn't want disappointment affecting the movie's score.
But
Maybe?
Space Panda, or
Space
Space Bear, yeah, Space Bear was like exactly what TLJ was. I'm just saying, it was.
Yeah,
that's
it's
true.
pretty spot on.
Yeah.
But
So-
they did say that was... In interviews, they said it was to do with the fact that they gave everyone code names, code bear names. And then Luke Skywalker's was Space Bear. I don't know how true that is. That's just what they've said on the interviews. I guess I'm inclined to believe them. I don't know. Do you guys think there's more to it than that, or?
I still feel like it means something and that they're just covering it up.
Maybe.
That's just me being hopeful.
Maybe Black Diamond was a little bit too on the nose and they were just scared that it might reveal too much of the plot.
Yeah, exactly that.
The next topic in the lineup is Solo's underperformance at the box office. Obviously, Solo, it didn't quite reach what they expected it to in terms of the box office. That could be down to a number of reasons, such as multiple movies that are, big titles like Deadpool 2 and Avengers Infinity War coming out very, very close to the release. Could also be the fact that it only came out 5 months after The Last Jedi, which is a very, very short period of time between the movies. It could also be the lack of marketing for the film. A lot of people didn't even know that this was a film that was coming out.
So I work with kids, and at my job, I had to do something that involved promoting the movie, merchandise and all that. So when I started, we were explaining the merchandise, and then it showed the trailer, and then after, people were slightly confused, and they were saying, oh, is this a new movie? I would have to explain to them, yes, it is a new movie, and they would ask the question, is this after this other movie that just came out? And I would say, no, this is a prequel before A New Hope. And they're asking, why isn't it Harrison Ford? And then I would have to explain, this is when he was younger and before he met Luke and Leia and all this. And it was quite strange to see an outside perspective, because we know what's going on, everything that's happening, and to like the average consumer, this was a very, very strange thing for them. They didn't know what this movie was. They just knew that it was a new Star Wars movie.
Well, I remember the same thing happened. It wasn't, maybe not quite to the same extreme, but I remember the same thing happening when Rogue One was released, and people saw Felicity Jones, and they thought, oh, why have they recast Rey? Or like, why is Rey now in the place where the Death Star is? That doesn't make any sense.
I never heard that.
Yeah, I had some real life friends. They were deeply confused. They thought that Felicity Jones was Rey. They didn't even realize they were different actors. They just thought that she was Rey.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I had to explain to them. I was like, no, this isn't anything to do with The Force Awakens. This is a completely separate film.
Oh my god.
It seems like the anthology films are sort of confusing for general audience.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, we've never had anthology films before. It's a completely foreign concept.
Right.
So to the more hardcore Star Wars fans like us, that we're familiar with like comics and books, things taking place outside the main saga of films, and we know that there's this massive universe outside the Skywalker saga. But most general audience members, they're not familiar with this concept. So when they see a film taking place outside that, they're like, why is this being made? Why do we need to learn about this? Because they just don't get it. They just don't get the reasoning behind it. They don't realize that Star Wars is a massive universe to explore. And I do wonder if that's one of the reasons why Solo didn't perform quite as well as they expected.
I think they should really consider like not a rebrand, but like I guess sort of like a rebrand for anthology films, like promoting it like, oh, these stories will be coming out. They're now connected to the main saga, but there's something new. They might be connected to characters you already know, but it's it's like outside, because I feel like people are confused as to like it's main saga anthology, main saga anthology, and then it's gonna be this last one, main saga, and then we're gonna get probably like 2 more anthologies after that, and then it's gonna go into maybe like Rian Johnson's like other trilogy, or like creators are gonna make their own thing. Yeah.
I mean, I can't like stress enough how much I hate the branding of a Star Wars story. Like it's like, hey, this film
strange.
and then a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Like when people look at it, they're just seeing Rogue One, Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not that is not instantly going Star Wars to them. That's not clicking in their brain that that's a Star Wars film.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they're just, I don't know, like going past the cinema, seeing what films are on, or looking on the internet what films to watch, they're not seeing Star Wars.
Yeah.
If I was in charge of the marketing, I would plaster Star Wars all over that. It's like I would have Star Wars Rogue One, Star Wars Solo.
Yeah.
It would just make a lot more sense to
It
me. I don't
would.
think it would confuse people. I think a Star Wars story is confusing people even more.
Because it's at the end, and usually it's
at
in
the end.
very small writing.
Yeah.
We need to work on the marketing and explaining this to the general audiences.
Yes, because
They're really
like
flying
general
under the
public,
radar.
they really don't know.
So no wonder people are getting confused. I don't blame them.
I sort of use my sister as like a gauge for general audience to see what's catching on with her and what's not. And she was like kind of interested in Solo, but didn't even know like it was being released soon. So.
Yeah.
The audience members that aren't like keeping up with like the release schedule of films.
Right.
Every Star Wars film so far has been a year after the last. You had The Force Awakens, then Rogue One, then The Last Jedi, and this one's just come out only 5 months.
Right.
5 months after The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
People just weren't expecting it to come out, and then before they know it, it's like, oh, a Star Wars film's come out. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Messing with the annual release date really hurt Solo and people knowing
I
it
think they
existed.
did that because they knew it wasn't going to do good. So, because there was going to be there's a lot of movies usually at Christmas time. and they knew it was gonna do as good. So, like, if it bombed now, it was really gonna bomb during Christmas.
But does he know that like Marvel always releases stuff during May?
Like right now, we have Infinity War, we have Deadpool, we have Jurassic Park, we have like tons of movies coming out right now that are compatible.
The Last Jedi was originally going to come out last May.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and so was episode 9. Episode 9 was supposed to come out next May too.
All the Star Wars movies are supposed to come out in May, but they've all been pushed back except for Solo.
I personally like the December release date. I don't
too.
know why. It just fits, and it's like you associate December with Christmas and with a new Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Especially with the new
especially with the new trilogy.
It just makes it more like... I feel like with Star Wars being such like a family thing, and then like Christmas is a time where family comes together, it kind of makes sense for it to be around that sort of time. It's all very family-oriented time. Whereas May, May's not special to anybody, I don't think, so...
Maybe they were depending on, like, all the kids getting out of school. Since it's, like, at the end of May, and...
Maybe, but at least here, the schools were still going on when Solo came out.
Right.
So, I really don't know what they're thinking.
It was just a perfect storm of bad logistics, you know?
Yeah, and then not to mention, I don't know how big of an impact this was, but Last Jedi wasn't incredibly well received by a lot of audience members.
Well...
And I do wonder maybe if that had anything to do with it. It probably did have some things to do with it. If people weren't, and I don't mean just boycotting. I mean, if you're a general audience member and you go see The Last Jedi and then you didn't enjoy it, and then a new Star Wars film's coming out, then 5 months later, and you're like, I still don't really enjoy the last one, so why would I go see this one?
Oh, that's true.
Although
it could have a lot to do with it, If there was a year between it, people would have forgotten The Last Jedi by the time that comes in. They're like, hey, a new Star Wars movie. But 5 months isn't a long period of time, really.
That definitely was a factor, although, going back to what we were discussing earlier, most people I've talked to just didn't know it was coming out or know what
and
it
I think
was.
they depended heavily on, like, TV adverts versus, like, online or, I don't know, YouTube. Because I didn't really see a lot of YouTube Solo stuff. Personally.
No, it just wasn't really a heavily marketed movie at all. Maybe they spent too much on the budget of the actual film.
Yeah, because the budget was doubled during production once new director took over, so that may have eaten into their marketing budget. It's not only
I think potentially
more expensive, but they don't have any more money.
Well, if you think about it, if they had to spend a bunch of money on reshoots, because it sounds like a lot. I mean, if you look at the film, it seems like a lot of it was reshot. Probably most of it. Half.
Like over half?
Oh wow, okay.
Over half for sure.
I think even more personally. So that's like, and then if they already shot a bunch of stuff and then they got to the point where like we can't use this, we're gonna have to create a pretty much entirely new film. That's gonna cost a lot of money.
They hired new actors like Voss.
And then like we've said, Deadpool 2, Avengers: Infinity War all did incredibly well at the box office. So that was probably taking up a lot of people's cinema time and money. So it just wasn't a good combination all around for Solo, and I think it was kind of destined to fail. I don't think there's a lot it could have done to actually do good. I am hoping for a late surge in, later on, or maybe like the Blu-ray will get some good sales, because we're going to talk about it later. But in my opinion, it was a really good movie. It deserves the love, but we'll see. We'll see if it gets it in time. Maybe it'll be the cult classic Star Wars movie in 10 years' time.
Yeah, I can totally see it being like a cult classic Star Wars fan film.
It was a real dark horse, that film. Like, no one expected that to be good. I mean, even I didn't. Like, I remember, like, probably maybe like a year before it came out, I was even debating not going to see it in the cinema. So if that was me as like a Star Wars fan as big as me, debating not to go see it at the cinema, what are like most casual fans like Solo? Like, I'm pretty sure most people weren't that interested in seeing the movie in general. I don't know. Either way, it underperformed, and we're gonna see where it goes from there. I mean, what did the article say? Did it say anything about what their plans were, or?
It just said that they were gonna study the logistics of everything and figure out why it happened. But the thing is, I've even though like this didn't do as well as any of the other Star Wars films, I feel like one bad quote unquote egg box wise is like, how is that a dent in the Star Wars universe anyway? overall.
Right,
personally.
right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I thought it was a great movie. So it's not like it was a terrible movie and also like a box office flop,
it
quote
bombed,
unquote.
yeah.
You know, so.
So it's been just over 2 weeks now since Solo hit theatres, or cinemas, depending on the word you'd like to use. And I think that gives everyone enough time to have seen the film. We certainly have. We're just going to have a little bit of a conversation about the film in general, just giving a quick, just giving our thoughts on it, what we liked, what we didn't necessarily like, what we hope to see in the future. But yeah, so we'll start with favourite scene. What was your favourite scene in Solo: A Star Wars Story?
I actually had a couple of favorite scenes, but I think from the beginning of the movie when Han and Kira got separated, I thought that was just acted absolutely beautifully. And then the hand on the glass and the dice, oh my gosh, it was
rough.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I totally
feels.
believed, like, their relationship because of that scene,
That was,
you know?
yeah, and that was something I was surprised about because okay, I had my initial reservations with Emilia Clarke's acting in Solo.
In a Star Wars movie.
It was the part that there was this part where they were in the car, they were in the speeder car, right? And she says something like, "Oh, we'll never have to do what the Empire tells us ever again." And it just, I don't know what they were going for. I don't know if they were going for like a kind of like
Campy?
a teen idealism, campiness sort of thing. But it just came off really. The tone wasn't the same for any other part of the film.
I think that was on purpose because they were trying to show how naive both of them were, thinking they were gonna both get off the planet, you know. And I think.
I mean, I get it. I get it. Like when I saw it in the film, I was like,
I mean,
I
maybe
hope
as
that's
an
what they're
adult,
going
it
for.
sounds like really cheesy, but
It sounded really bad.
but
And then.
it may appeal to like the teenagers who are like,
No,
yeah,
I don't
I'm
think
gonna
it
get out
would.
of this town one day. Yeah.
No, I don't think it would. I think they're like, I think they'd be like, oh, I don't know about that. But I mean, but then, you know, and then I was like, and then like the scene that they first meet and they're already like making out
Oh,
like
yeah.
first thing, and I was like,
Oh, yeah.
how
Shocking
forced.
to me in a Star
I
Wars
was like,
movie.
Yeah,
it was so like, it was so passionate, and I was just watching
I mean,
it, and I was like,
it was cute. It was cute. I
It
believed
was really
it.
odd
was-
for me. I don't know why. It was just really
But it was
off for
like
me.
a lot. It was a lot.
it took me out. It took me out of the movie, and I was
It's
like,
the adults
oh
don't
god,
even
this
kiss
is.
this way, man. Like
This isn't gonna be, I was like, this isn't gonna be like a really forced relationship, is it? But no, I was really pleasantly surprised by the Han and Kira relationship. I think
Yeah.
that, you know, despite the fact that we know he's gonna end up with Leia,
Yeah.
I was kind of rooting for him. I
Yeah,
was kind of rooting
I
for him.
was too.
Exactly. Especially that closet scene.
Yes. That little George Lucas touch right there.
I know.
Where he throws the cape.
Oh, it was
Jesus.
such
Yeah.
a good scene. Give me more of that.
Mm.
Yeah, but that beginning scene with Kira and Han, that opening scene, I was not feeling it at all. Like, I know they're young and, you know, in love, but I wasn't feeling it. I felt like it was way overacted.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of weird. It was just like really non-Star Warsy for me. It was like
Yeah.
really.
And like
What if it was
actually
like the
never
Miller
seen-
version? Like what if
Maybe. And it's like we've never seen that much like PDA in Star Wars. Usually it's like very
Yes.
slow, nice kissing.
That's why it shocked
and
the
it's
hell
like
out of
this
me.
is like whoa.
Mhm.
That's why I was like, I think they are going for like a young lovers thing, and if they are, then I can see that and I can accept that. It was really jarring to see, like, in the movie. But yeah, no, I agree with you, Liz. The scene where they get separated, that was one of the scenes where I was like, this movie might be good, because I was on the fence. I'll tell you where I was up on the fence till. I was on the fence up until about the point where Enfys Nest showed up, I think, for the first time. I was on the fence about the movie. I was like, some parts are good, some parts seem, And then from then on out, I was like completely on board with the film when Enfys Nest showed up. Completely on board. But yeah, that was one of the scenes where I was like, this movie actually might be good.
My favorite scene, I think, was like the last scene when Beckett turns on them and then leaves and makes Chewie go, and it just all the dynamics of betrayal that was happening in that last scene when Beckett betrayed them. And then
Kira betrayed
Jiden. Kira betrayed
Kira.
Han. Han
Kira
betrayed
just did a lot of
Beckett. Like, everyone was
betraying each other.
Yeah.
It was like an episode of Game of Thrones. It was
And poor Chewie's just there like,
I know,
what
like,
do I do?
just using me for my brute strength, I guess. But Yeah, I like that scene because everyone, it just for me felt like that was the whole point of the movie. It was just like everyone will do something to survive, and
It was the perfect conclusion for that film.
Yeah.
I genuinely agree.
and sometimes survival is more important than relationships.
I think
I
they
guess.
should have marketed that, like, that point in this movie. Like how in TFA they're like the force is strong in my family type of deal. And then in TLJ, I don't know how they marketed that. And then in Rogue One, it was like, oh, I rebel. Like that whole like feel of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they didn't really market it like as like, oh, you know, survival type of thing. You know, like you do whatever. I think the only way we got that was the line that Beckett says to Chewie. Like something about don't trust anyone or...
Yeah, like assume everyone will betray
Yeah,
you
assume
and you'll never
everyone
be
will
disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like we got a little bit of that with that line. And actually my younger brother, once he saw that trailer, he thought
Wow.
Beckett would betray Han.
I mean, it
based
literally
off that,
turned
so-
out that everyone betrayed
Yeah.
Han except Chewie.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. I was like,
Aw.
Chewie and
Yeah.
Han and Chewie are bros.
Chewie.
You know. It makes the scene in The
Chewie's
Force
the
Awakens
best.
so much... I've always liked Han as a character. I've always liked him to some degree. He's never been like my number one childhood hero. But this movie, I really liked Han in this
Oh,
movie,
yes.
like big time, and it's made his arc from where he started. And this is all we can really ask for because I was initially very, very worried about them doing character anthology movies,
Right.
like based on like specific characters, like Marvel does.
Mhm.
It's really worried about like origin stories. And this is all we can ask for these films. It's made Han's arc throughout the entire, 5 films he's been in now.
Mhm.
It's made it work perfectly.
More richer,
It's,
I think.
Yeah.
there's a start. There's now a start to his. There's because now it seems it's made A New Hope arc almost like the middle of his journey
Mhm.
Yeah.
instead of the start of his journey, and I think it kind of works better.
Yeah.
I think it works better that way. And I was initially like, do we really need to see him become this cynical guy? And I think, in a way, yes, we do, because it kind of comes full circle.
Yeah,
He
'cause
goes
he's
from
kind of
being
a jerk
a-
in A New Hope, so it's like...
He's a big time
Yeah.
jerk, and he's this naive.
I like
Naive.
soft Han. It's like...
Yeah,
I like self-sacrificing Han. It was cool seeing him.
well, yeah, he's a naive young boy who believes the best in people.
Mhm.
And then he goes from a naive old man that expects his son won't stab him through the chest with a lightsaber.
Wow.
Although I think he did expect it, but anyway.
He was
Aw.
like, it's Kirill all over again. I'm just kidding.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. I think it really does work for the entire trilogy.
It does.
And I do hope we see more. Well, not trilogy, I guess. The entire rest of
yeah.
Han's
Oh,
arc.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, I mean, it was just a great film for that.
Oh yeah, can I say too? Okay, my other if not the betrayal scene, of course, like when Han meets Chewie. God, that like
Yeah, that was
sold
great.
their relationship to me for like the
That was
rest of
so
the saga. Like so great that they worked together to escape. Like,
Yeah, and they weren't initially buddies. That was quite cool to see. But they became buddies very, very fast. Todd, what was your favorite scene?
I was gonna
Okay.
say the scene where Han met Chewie. I really liked the way we met Chewbacca for the first time as like this like animal.
Yeah, he was
like,
eating
feral.
people.
Yeah.
That was
Oh
no
my
joke. He was
God.
Yeah.
eating people.
Yeah, that was really the way because like everyone's scared of Wookiees in the OT.
Mhm.
Oh, I saw
Chewbacca
like this
shows up
movie
and
made me
so-
realize how scary Wookiees could be, like big time.
yes.
Like we
Yeah.
do see him rip someone's arms off.
We
in this,
finally
like,
got to see it. We got cheated out in the deleted scene with
And
Uncle Plot in The
Kessel
Force
in the
Awakens, but no,
elevator?
now it's in an
Yeah.
official canon scene, and they can't take that away from us.
Jeez.
That is there
Yep.
now. Wookiees rip people's arms off.
No.
Oh, can we please talk about the Kessel Run?
Yeah. Of course.
Like, what? It was so visually beautiful and it was
Yeah.
so funny.
Do you know what though? Like I completely agree, but
That was a
Luke,
super
our
fun
own Luke,
Mhm.
Kessel Fun's Luke, he did not like the color palette. I think when he's on the podcast next, I'll try and get him to explain
Why?
it more. I know I was a massive disagreement with him about this.
love-
Like
He
the
felt that it was
gray
too.
and
I mean,
dark.
I've heard this complaint a lot that it was a bit too dark, But I think that worked for its favor. I do. I think it was meant to be dark.
Yeah. It was. It wasn't
the dark
as dark
anyway.
as Rogue One, but it was still pretty dark.
Yeah. No, and when Han started speaking in Skyrook,
So funny.
it's also
I love that they put
funny scene,
translations
one
on
of my
the
favorites.
screen.
And then none for Chewie.
yeah.
Do you know what? I was initially... I'll be honest with you, though. I was initially worried about... When I heard Han make them noises, I was like, oh no. Like, is this going to be one of those type of movies? But no, they actually executed it very well, and it wasn't as
I think he
as
just needed
campy as it could have
to
been.
gain his trust by talking like that.
It was a funny scene. Do you know what? This movie, I think, there has been no Star Wars movie in general, not just post Disney. This has been the movie that's pulled off the comedy the best in a Star Wars film, in my opinion.
Yes,
Oh,
it
yes.
has.
No,
It
I
was
really like the
brilliant.
humor
There
in
was
this a
very
lot.
rarely. I
Very
don't think
balanced.
there was a single joke that fell flat for me, and I think there were a good handful that actually made me laugh out loud, which is quite rare for. I mean, the only film that I remember doing that, other Star Wars film that I remember doing that for me was The Force Awakens, which also I think a lot of people said that it maybe had over humor. I think that
no
Force
way.
Awakens had a bit too much humor. I think it did. I think here's why I think Solo pulled it off better. I think that The Force Awakens humor was all good and it worked. I just think there were certain scenes where it played them off for laughs rather than actually like an emotional moment. Whereas I feel like Solo completely nailed what parts were meant to be emotional and what parts were meant to be funny. It completely nailed the tone of the film, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's
And
balanced.
considering the fact that it had a lot of reshoots, like damn, it pulled off the tone well
Yeah.
because
Yeah, it
Mhm,
definitely
yes.
feels consistent.
back to the Kessel Run. I love the part as well. That the part where I was like, "Wow, this is amazing," was when they were leaving the leaving Kessel, and it all the ship lights go off, and it's all like it's got this like really creepy, mysterious feel, and I was like, "We've never had that in a Star Wars film before." Like that, I was like, man, they should really do a Star Wars horror film at some point
Yeah.
because
That'd be
I
sick.
totally got that vibe from that. Like, I was like, damn. I mean, it was such a I don't want to say filler scene, but it didn't really add much to the plot. But it was so good. It was how you do. It was like move over Raftars. Like that is not how you do a filler tentacle scene. No, this is how you do a filler tentacle scene. This was awesome, and it was just brilliant. But my favorite scene in the movie, I guess maybe it's not really. I guess if I had to pick a specific scene, it would probably be the introduction of Dryden Voss. But then I will add on to that that
him killing the mayor or governor.
No, well, not that. The part where. Sorry, the part where. I mean, that was good. That was like that got me on board with his character. The part where Han, Beckett, and Chewie all meet with Dryden Voss. There was this
That was good.
because there was this like massive tension in that scene. But it was also incredibly funny, and they just nailed the tone.
I freaking love Alden in that scene, man.
He was brilliant.
Good.
I loved Dryden Voss as well. He is seriously, yes, he is seriously one.
We should do
of
this
the...
more often. For whatever reason.
He just does so many. There's so many lines in that film that I think are just brilliant. He nails that character so well because the one thing I liked about Dryden is he wasn't. I'm not saying he's a good guy. He's definitely not a good guy. But he wasn't really a villain. Like, he was just doing things... He was just doing... But not in, like, the conflicted way, like Kylo Ren. He was just doing things because that was his job. You know, I never got the kind of evil vibe from him. He was a little bit off the rails, but he was just doing his job, and he was just trying to, like, not get his head sliced off himself.
I mean, he was angry because Beckett failed him. So.
Right, exactly, because he had
said
something
that
to fulfill.
Enfys Nest always, like, hijacks like
yeah, and I feel like it puts into context when you realize who his boss actually is. You're like, oh,
yeah.
right. I mean, like, I understand the pressure you're under, dude. Like, no, it's fine. Hey, mate, just like if you want to slice open, a regional governor once in a while to let off some steam, then that's absolutely fine. I get it. If Moore was my boss, I would be. He's keeping it together better than me. That's for sure.
When he told Kira, "You know who I report to," he
and I was like, damn.
I don't know too much about Maul as a syndicate leader in the Clone Wars. Is that what one of his?
Maul and his brother they took control of Death Watch and they went to the Pikes, which was referenced in here when they
Yes.
said
Right.
they have a fragile alliance with them. Kind of call back to Maul and their relationship already. Yeah, he took over the Pikes and the Black
Oh,
Sun.
dang, he
alliance
took
with
over the
Hutts,
Black
so he
Sun,
kinda, like,
too?
gathered all of his
Yeah,
forces
yeah.
together.
Wow.
I don't know if he... Yeah, I do think he... No, he and his brother went in there and...
Took it by
He, like,
force.
decapitated
Yeah.
every
Like,
member of the
Take
Black
over
Sun.
that way. I thought
Yeah.
he was like handed
He, like-
over the
No.
ownership, but I guess
Yeah.
not. See, I'm familiar with the Black Suns because of the books and the comics, but not so much.
Yeah, that's Maul. That's
Mhm.
Maul. That's his. That's his.
I do think there were, like, the way he did it was just, he had his brother throw his lightsaber across the table. It was like 16 decapitations.
Yeah, this is a kid show, by the way.
Kid show.
Just at once.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And then it's like to the rest of the members that just stand there. He's like, "Yeah, so who's going to challenge me now?" Like,
So,
yeah, fair enough. You got the.
Manny,
you
I
got
have
the
a
crown.
question for you. So when you found out that Maul was Dryden's boss, did the context of the Clone Wars really help you understand why Dryden was afraid to fail, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Cool.
Maul is ruthless, especially to the people that fail him. He's not a nice guy. He's not. He
Really
really isn't.
not, no.
As much as I love Maul, and I really like it when we get to see his more sympathetic side or more fragile side, he is not a nice guy. He is
Oh,
not a nice guy at all.
Okay.
And yeah, no, I totally get why Dryden Voss was afraid of. Because in this is why it might be a little bit confusing to people who haven't seen the Clone Wars, and we'll talk more about Maul's inclusion in a minute. But Maul in the Phantom Menace, he was just he was quite composed. Really, he wasn't. He was just kind of like a silent antagonist, quite composed and reserved. Barely said any lines during the film. He never really seemed that mad or angry. He was just like a silent assassin. Maul in the Clone Wars is a completely different character
Yeah.
to that, with good reason as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he does explain it very well in the TV show. And the Maul we saw in Solo was very, very similar to the Maul we see in the Clone Wars and Rebels. So that felt perfect.
I kind of felt like general audience, I felt like a GA person when I found out the leak that Maul was in it. So I guess that's why I was like, why the hell is Maul in this movie? But after learning or talking to Manny especially about the Clone Wars stuff.
It was a surprise for us, I think, as well. But when I kind of got home and thought about it, it did make sense. But yeah, I know. We'll talk more about Maul soon.
Okay.
I just want to talk one of my other favourite scenes in it, and I guess the chemistry between these two actors, Lando and Han, their
Yes.
chemistry, or Alden and Donald. Oh my god,
So
the
good.
chemistry those two actors had, especially in the Sabak tournaments, was just incredible. It just hooks you right. When you feel yourself literally being taken into a scene, you are there in
Yeah.
that scene. That's what those two actors did. I can't believe the amount of. I mean, I'm sure there maybe still is, but I haven't heard many criticisms. The reservations people had with Alden Ehrenreich taking over the role of Han Solo. If people knew what his performance was to be
know.
like in that film, I don't think there'd be half the worry there was. He was brilliant.
It's they didn't want to give him a chance, man. But
I mean, I get it. It's an established
because-
character, and people, and in the trailers, it didn't I'll be honest, the trailers didn't fill me with much confidence.
No.
It didn't really show him much, so it was why have they picked him? Why have they picked this guy? I was never I always wanted to give him a chance, and I was never one of those people kind of saying, oh, he can't do it, he can't do this. But I was a bit bit of a strange choice to play Han Solo. But I'll assume that he does a much better job in the movie itself, and then I mean. Some of the facial expressions, I could see young Harrison Ford in those facial expressions. I was like, wow, they did a great job casting this guy. He's absolutely brilliant. And then, obviously, Donald Glover as Lando. Lando?
Lando.
Donald Glover as Lando. I'm doing Han, Lando.
you said it the way I say it.
Did I? Shit. No, I mean, it was just... They were just brilliant as the roles. There was no impersonation. It was just straight up bringing their own to the character. And I love that.
I feel like Donald Glover is just such a talented person,
Yes,
and
yes.
for him to freaking do Lando right was just
He nailed
awesome,
it
man.
150%.
Even when you said to Kira, what are you doing with Harry and the boy? That sort of regal entitlement, and I don't know. I just love the way that Donald Glover gave attitude to Lando, and just because it made sense.
Yeah, he was a different character than he was in episode 5. I feel like he was a very different. He felt more. I feel like L3's death actually matured him quite a bit. He seemed, mind you, actually, when we see him in the Sabat game at the end of it, he kind of seems like normal Lando.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I like to think that maybe L3's death kind of matured him a bit.
Yeah.
Than what we see him like in episode 5. Who knows?
And that's what I want to talk about next is L3 and Lando.
Yes. Well, let's head into that now because L3 is a character that's a little bit controversial. I really do not get the whole controversy of her character is that she's meant to like represent like I mean, what is it, like feminism or something, or like
I
what is
didn't
it meant
get
to
that
be?
at all. I just got.
I did, but it was like it was clearly tongue in cheek of like it was like a caricature of like you know, maybe I'm getting some like dangerous ground, but it was like a caricature of those types of people, and I just felt like it was very funny. It was very like on the nose. They knew exactly what it. I feel like it was like people giving Lucasfilm, you know, trash for pandering to like SJWs, and this was kind of like their little like middle finger, I guess, to like those people that say that by like having a character that's so like explicitly like that, but with droid rights. And I just thought it was funny to me.
From reading Last Shot and then going into this, I thought she was absolutely perfect. Her and Lando are my favorite characters in this movie, and I wanted more of them like together, like interacting, and like Lando scolding her and like her talking back. I just thought it was a beautiful, beautiful like relationship that they had. And
did you ever actually like a really sweet relationship when you actually like? There were so many things that in that film that weren't overstated. Like it didn't go into it too much, and then when you actually watch the film again, you're like, oh, like there was all that there that like you know, it was like Lando, he's walking along and he's saying like you know, I could have a memory wiped, but you know, she's got the best navigation system or whatever. But when you actually know that there's completely different reasoning behind the fact that why he won't get a memory wiped, and I like that. It didn't have to explicitly, it didn't have to spoon feed you the information, but it was like it gave you enough that once you've actually finished the movie, you're like, oh, so that was what their dynamic was, you know. I enjoyed that, and
all of her jokes I think landed. Like they were just so completely funny. I laughed so hard, especially he was like, oh, is there anything you need? And she's like, equal rights. I just like busted out laughing. She was exactly like in the book. I if you read the book, it just gives so much more to her, and she is just so. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so good. My new favorite droid, because K2SO was my favorite droid, and then now it's L3.
Oh, I don't know. I think K2SO still takes the cake for me. But yeah, no, I was a massive fan of L3. Sad when she was the only character to. No, Beckett. I was sad when she got killed off. Actually, although I think it was kind of needed to progress the plot, and I don't really see she wouldn't have really had much to do had she survived. So you know, I understand why she was killed off. And like I said, I loved that her and Lando's dynamic. It was really fun. They had great banter, and I think the dynamic of the entire crew was pretty great in total.
Lando never got to date her, which is sad.
This is like, okay, so this is the debate, right? This is the debate. What was up with the romance between? Was there a romance between L3 and Lando?
I don't think it was a mutual thing. I think Lando was just like so into her, but like L3 was like, nah, like it's he's in love with me. Like
so you think Lando was the one that was pining after L3,
yeah,
and not the other way around?
Yeah, she said that.
Yeah, but I thought it was like a you know, like in denial thing. So she was like, yeah, you know, I don't really care about him.
She does care about him, like obviously. I just thought it was funny that she was trying to play it off because Kira was talking. You know, they were talking about, you know, girl stuff.
Right.
I just.
That's what I was thinking. Like she's playing it off, but like actually, like Lando didn't really feel that way about her.
Oh no, I think Lando felt that way about her.
Did you, really?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like work out how that would.
I got the same vibes as Sam.
How that would feel.
That like, L3 was into Lando, but she was playing it off as he was
I
into
think it
her.
was
I
don't
think
know,
right.
I think
Okay,
it was Lando.
At least that's what
here's my
Interesting.
Let's take a poll.
my final theory. Right,
Mhm.
L3 thought L3 was into Lando, right? But she didn't actually think that Lando was into her. So, but she was playing it off that Lando was like into her, but she didn't care for him. But actually, Lando actually was into her. He just didn't let her know that. And
So
then when L3
complicated.
died, it's the most complicated.
Traumatized.
Forget move
Lando is
aside
so-
Raylo. L3 and Lando
Yes!
is the
Oh
most
my
complicated
God.
Star Wars relationship
The
we've ever
ultimate
had.
ship.
It's so confusing, but it's great, and I like the debate around it. Like some people are like, oh no, Lando wasn't into L3 at all, and then some people are like, oh no, he definitely was. It was L3 that wasn't into Lando. I love the debate about it. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that it would be particularly comfy on Lando's part, but
We're going into that now? I didn't know we were going that far.
I mean, I'm just
talking about
saying, you know,
relationship.
Excuse you.
It works.
there's no one out there that's made of
It
flesh and bone.
works.
Didn't
works.
Kira ask her like, how would that work?
It works.
And then
Yeah, for her who doesn't feel anything, like she didn't ask Lando.
I'm sure she has like pressure sensors or something. Like,
okay, but
Yeah, I
he's
know,
not
but he's
Ex-Machina.
right.
Like, this is
Okay,
not...
without getting too vulgar into it, right?
Whoa.
She's not the one that has to have her flesh. No,
Okay, Sam. No.
it's gonna be way more uncomfortable for Lando than L3. That's all I'm gonna say. So you know,
There
I mean,
are
it's all
no-
fine.
no, There are, I guess, attachments. I mean,
No,
no, Liz.
Yeah,
There are ways.
there are ways.
It works.
I guess
It
so.
reminds me of Ex
Comfortable.
Machina. Shout out to Poe, aka
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac. But
Yeah,
but he did. They did have pressure.
and Donald Gleason.
So, oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Donald
Donald.
Gleason. I loved him in
Reverse
that movie.
roles.
So.
It was a great movie.
General Hux.
But yeah, you know, I mean, like I said,
Never
the
seen it.
I think the dynamic between pretty much all the characters was great.
Did you
I
talk
don't
about
quite.
the closet scene already?
We haven't
mentioned
yet.
it.
I just wanna. Oh,
Oh.
no, we did. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanna point out. I don't really feel like Kira had too much to do with. She had a good dynamic with L3, although it wasn't really played into much. She had a
Right.
good dynamic with Han,
Uh huh.
and obviously you know Lando. But you know, with Beckett, it's like she didn't really have much to do with Beckett.
Well, they didn't like each
Um,
other or didn't trust each other.
Oh, was that the case?
Because
Maybe I've
remember
forgotten.
when she found out that Han was working for Beckett, she kind of had like this disgusted look on her face, like, yeah.
You're working together.
Oh, okay.
And then Beckett kept telling Han, you know, he can't trust her.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true. Actually, no,
so-
I take that back. Then there was actually a little bit of a.
So there was tension between them, but.
What about Kira and Chewie?
There wasn't really anything there.
Wasn't anything. I think Kira only
Yeah.
really, just understood how much Han and Chewie, you know, were bonded together
Mm,
pretty
mm.
much. So, but there wasn't any really scenes of both of them. I
Chewie
mean-
Chewie
gets
always gets
ignored
ignored.
again.
He didn't get a medal, and now he gets ignored.
You know what? I
I
love
know.
that scene when Han asked Chewie his name, and he's like, "I'm not gonna call you that every time." So cute.
You're gonna need a nickname.
So cute. I love that scene when they're just out on the deck, you know, in the mountains.
Yeah, this scene.
Yeah, I really loved all of Han and Chewie's reaction. All of Han and
Yeah.
Chewie's interaction.
This movie had some great like slower moments. I think it just paced. It was just really. There was some. I think there was some action scenes that went on maybe a little bit too long, if I remember correctly. I remember sitting through Kessel, and going, this could maybe be a bit shorter.
No.
But it wasn't like it didn't like detract from the movie. I just remember thinking like maybe
No.
this could have been a bit toned down. But I think that apart from you know the first 15 minutes, which also felt a little bit rushed, the movie was paced really well, and like it knew when to slow down, it knew when to speed up, it knew when to have fun, it knew when to be serious.
Yeah.
And I just think that it just honestly it's very underappreciated.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, the more I think about this.
Well, I've seen it
the more I
twice
like the
now,
movie.
and the second time I was nearly falling asleep because I'd literally
But-
just got back from Poland. So
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Um,
please qualify that. Don't say you're falling asleep because you know.
yeah, no, I was enjoying the film. I was just falling asleep because I'd just come off a flight. But yeah, I was I think I appreciate it more as a movie, because obviously, although I must say the second time I watched it, so obviously the first time we watched it, because I don't think we've mentioned this yet, but that we had a real life Star Wars speculation meetup with a few members. It was me, Fly, Luke, Tom, from Kessel Fun, and Shotty from the book club. So we all went to see Solo together. We all had a great time. And the energy in that cinema was miles better than the energy in my cinema back home in England. I don't think anybody barely laughed at all at any of the funny moments in it, apart from me. So I felt like an idiot, and it was just a really dead experience. Like, it really took me out. I was like,
With the
what
general
the hell? What the
audience.
hell's wrong with these people? Like,
Yeah.
it just it annoyed
But
me.
you went in like the middle of
Yeah.
the afternoon, didn't you?
Yeah, but there was quite a few people there,
Oh,
and that's the one thing I
well.
will mention. There was quite a few people there for late afternoon.
Mm.
Maybe that says a lot about the employment rate in my town.
It was a Tuesday
Well,
It was a Tuesday.
in the afternoon.
A Tuesday afternoon, and there was quite a few people there.
Well, I mean, I watched it twice too, and I liked it. I enjoyed it just as much as the second time, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
same,
of course,
same.
it was a little different since I knew
Yeah.
what was going to happen, but I was so excited to see what my brother and my sister were going to react to. Like, I was, like,
Right,
clutching
right.
their arms. So-
Unfortunately, like, jokes are never as funny the second time round, so, like, I didn't, while a lot of the enjoyment the first time round came from seeing the jokes, but then it kind of made me appreciate it more as a movie, because I wasn't, like, distracted, in inverted commas, by the jokes.
Right.
I could actually, like, just judge it as a movie.
Didn't Manny, didn't you, I mean, Todd, didn't you watch it twice already, or no?
yeah, I've seen
Okay.
it.
So
What
we've
did
all
you
seen it
think?
twice.
now. I enjoyed it still. Like you said, knowing what's happening was a different experience.
Yeah, the mall payoff is quite heavily foreshadowed in the film. Like, it's not just like, hey everyone, here's Maul, like,
Yeah.
this fan favorite character. No, it's actually quite heavily foreshadowed in the film.
I knew
Same,
going
to be honest
into
with
it that Maul was going to be
Right.
in the movie, so.
But I
could
didn't
see all
know.
the
I didn't really
foreshadowing
know
happening,
where he was
and I
gonna
really enjoyed
be introduced. I was like,
that.
are they referring to Maul here? Like, if they are, that's cool. And then obviously when Maul was revealed, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, that works.
I thought Dryden was going to call upon him, so I was very surprised when Kira was on.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Maul looked weird. I feel like Maul looked strange.
Because it was
Maul
the
looks
original
more-
actor.
Maul looked
Yeah,
more
Maul
buff
was-
than I remember him being.
Yeah.
Because he was more. Well, it's
Swole.
the
He's
original
older.
actor. It's the. Yeah. So he's not as
Yeah, but
in
he's-
shape as before.
Well, I suppose you could say he was starving on Malachor, and that's why he's so skinny there. Maybe he, after the Empire took over, he did get on the weights, and and hey,
I
more
mean,
power
he
to him,
had to
because-
redeem
He
his.
climbed
Yeah.
the
his-
Dathomir
yeah.
trees.
Yeah. He had to redeem his, like, I don't know, his, like, manliness or something. I don't know. Like.
Why? Because he's not got a.
Let me go. Ending with Clone Wars, he was taken by Palpatine, and with a comic book that was released that was going to be the episodes.
Okay.
That is still canon. We have him facing Palpatine again and facing General Grievous, and I think he loses most of his forces, and he gets left on Dathomir. So we have him going from almost nothing on Dathomir to Rebels, where he's pretty much left on the same place in, Malachor. So we have this whole arc of him once again becoming a crime lord and
The one thing we do know is he's definitely running with the Inquisitors sometime pre-Solo, because he has the the saber, his new saber, and it's fashioned from
He has
the Inquisitors. I think that was confirmed, right? He killed Inquisitors and he stole their sabers and kind of
it's,
crafted his new one. Yeah.
Inquisitor's lightsaber.
So he's definitely running to Inquisitors. So this was before. And how many years before it's like about sort of 10 years before his or like 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, 9 years.
Okay.
For
Oh, really?
Rebels is
Okay.
this because Rebels comes.
I would
think,
love
a year
it.
before New Hope.
I would love it
The last
if Kira is
But I
somehow
thought-
to do with his abandonment or like
Yes,
on
please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dathomir. Like she
Okay.
betrays him.
Could Kira take over
Syndicate?
the whole?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could
Oh,
totally see
no.
her doing that. I could 100% see her
I
doing
would
that.
love that.
Because then they could bring Crimson Dawn into like even the sequel trilogy era. you know?
Ooh.
Yeah, because we do have the New Republic dealing with
Yeah.
the crime
Oh.
syndicates coming back after going into hiding in Bloodline. That's the major.
Oh, yeah,
plot
no,
point,
yeah, I do remember
one
that.
of the major plot
But was
points.
Crimson Dawn mentioned? No.
I don't think Crimson Dawn was mentioned. Although if it did, I wouldn't have noticed it because Solo came out, but that came out years ago before
Even
I think Crimson Dawn.
I
was
wonder when
made
I wonder
up
when
for
Maul
Solo.
was introduced. I wonder if it was, you know, with Lord and Miller. I wonder if they were gonna introduce Maul or if it was a Ron Howard.
Oh, I know the writer for the movie, Kasdan. Yeah, the writer for Empire Strikes Back. He wrote the script before Lord Miller came on to direct. I remember reading an interview or something with him, or an article that says he originally planned to have hints at Maul, like with Crimson Dawn and all the references we've talked about. Those were all in the script originally, but he wasn't really sure if he'd be allowed to show Maul show up at the end. And they didn't get the go-to to actually have Maul show up until late in the production. But the plans
Well, let's
and
actually
the
talk
seeds
about
were all
let's
there
actually talk
from the
about
beginning.
the inclusion of Maul in a live action
Meta?
film, and what it actually and where it
Okay.
actually leads the
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
in
sure,
a
yeah.
sense, we're
Um,
outside.
because
Yeah.
we're now having a character that was believed dead by most of the general audience, brought back in the Clone Wars, and now he's in a live-action movie again. Like, that's quite a big deal when you think about it. Like, that can lead, you know, because there was always talk about, Ahsoka or Ezra are never going to show up in a live-action movie, and I'm still skeptical about it, but it's definitely
I'm not.
it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, Maul showing up definitely opens a lot of doors for expanded universe stuff like the books and TV
Yeah.
shows coming into the new movies.
But wasn't one of the Syndulas mentioned in Rogue One?
Yeah, we have in Rogue One we have
Oh, yeah,
No,
And
but these were
those-
cameos. This
and
was
those.
complete.
in a frame.
This was completely different.
cameos and
These were like, hey, we'll hear a
Yeah, this was
Syndula,
a
please come to
focus.
the
I
you
know,
know
but
control room,
Was it
and then see
Captain?
Chopper
Yeah,
like
yeah.
roll by, and then see the Ghost in Rogue One. It's like little Easter eggs, but this was like a straight up plot element. Maul is
Oh,
back.
yeah.
He's there. He's alive, and we know he's dead.
Rip.
Spoilers, Rebels. He's dead, which really
Oh my
annoys me.
Wow.
Me and Luke were talking about this. It's stupid in my opinion. Maul's death should not have been shown before this. I know. I
So-
understand.
oh.
I understand production times, and maybe Maul wasn't. You know, maybe they didn't even know Maul was gonna be in this
Mm-hmm.
before Rebels came out, and you know, and I understand how it's happened. I just think that if it had been done in a perfect world, Maul's death would not have been shown. Because then how excited would you be to see that Maul's back? How excited would you be that Maul's back and you don't know where his story's going to go, and he's going to hunt down Kenobi, and he's going to do this and that. And now, but we know he's dead.
Mhm.
Like, we know ultimately that he gets stranded
So
on
we have-
Malachor,
Well,
and...
can't we say the same about Han?
Yeah, but that's an origin story.
Yeah, because, like,
this
we
is something that's completely different. This is like...
we have his beginning. We have the
Mhm.
beginning of his story and the end of his story.
Yeah.
So we're left in the middle.
Yeah,
What he does.
and
for
it just
20 years.
feels strange.
Yeah, it's definitely
Like, I'm happy that it's happening. I'm
strange
happy
place
he's there
to
because
be
I've
for a
always liked
character.
Maul. I was always actually in favour of bringing him back
Mm-hmm.
because I really liked what they did with his character, and you know, despite the fact that it's not too believable, I always liked it. I just think that, you know, it's just strange. It's just strange timing. But hey, I mean, I'm happily surprised. It's just a little bit odd that they've done it that way.
Manny,
Yeah,
were you
It is.
remember before we even knew Maul was in this movie, and you were saying, well, that that Mandalorian armor looks like the Death March armor. Were you
yeah.
happy that Maul was in it? It sort of confirmed like what you were thinking.
Yes. With the Mandalorian armor being connected to Maul through Death Watch and the Clone Wars arc. So I guess that was some of the hints
Mhm.
being picked up early on. So yeah, it was nice to see. I thought they would just
Yeah.
leave that like an Easter egg. Or like, maybe mentioning, Crimson Dawn, all the hints at Maul, but I was really surprised to hear that he would be showing up in the movie when that was leaked.
I mean, the Mandalorian armor that was... I don't know how much that actually had to do with Maul, because it was actually shown to be like an ancient armor. Like, because it was very like samurai-esque, that armor. And it was actually in the... I think Pablo Hidalgo...
Yeah, in the Star Wars show, it was a...
Right, because I was kind of wondering, because we talked about this before a little bit, that Dryden Voss might have actually been a Death Watch trooper, but I don't think that's...
Yeah,
he doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't seem in character for him. He seems like a guy that, don't get me wrong, he's very sufficient in combat. I just think he seems like a guy that's, you know, he's not very... He's lived the high life, you know. I mean, maybe he wasn't born there, but he's definitely... It doesn't seem like the way his the way his character was... The way we were introduced to his character didn't seem like he was a former soldier. You know?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. Although I would like to see a character like that showing up, because I think he had a couple of them left at the end of his The Son of Dathomir arc. So, I mean, they could show up later, but definitely not with
Well, he's dead.
The thing that I liked seeing, because me and Manny have read a lot of comics together, and one of the Lando comics was about Palpatine's like pleasure yacht? What is it called? It's so cool to see a ship be used in luxury. You know, like
Dryden's ship was cool.
Yeah,
I love everything.
Super
I love
cool.
everything about Dryden Voss. Like,
so fancy.
I know, and it was like the first time we had like a super fancy ship in Star Wars. So
yes,
you know. I thought that was cool. And
can we briefly mention the score of that film as well?
Yeah.
I was really impressed by the score. Really impressed. Do you know what? Sorry, I just mentioned this as like a... I'll edit this out. I can't imagine how confused the audience is getting, like, because you keep calling him Manny.
Oh, I know.
And like people are like, Todd, Manny, who is this guy? Is it Todd or Manny?
Out.
I was thinking of
I'm so
mentioning
sorry.
that. I do that every single time you mention
I'll have to
Manny.
you'll have to record like a bunch of different ways of saying Todd lie, and then I'll just edit
so
them in.
Sorry.
I'm just thinking my editing.
Like Todd is his nickname or something.
So, who the fuck has a nickname of Todd?
Weird. It's still weird. I don't understand it.
So sorry.
This started so long ago, and I just call you Todd. I will not call you Manny unless something is wrong.
The only time I call him Manny is like when someone else calls him Manny, and then I'm like,
Really?
it just kind of like, it's
I
like,
don't
yeah.
think I've
I
ever
met
called him.
Todd
Yeah.
when I found out his name was Manny, so I didn't know.
It's Todd. He's more Todd than Manny now.
I
He
know.
is
I'm so sorry,
He is Toddy.
Manny. I
More man than
completely
machine.
forgot podcast name Todd. Crap.
Podcast name Todd.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, audience.
It
You're
says
probably like, who
Todd
the
on the
fuck is she
screen.
talking to?
It says Todd on the screen.
I
Yeah.
know. But I talk to Manny so much, and I call him Manny, and he responds to it. So it's like, Jesus Christ,
not
I
dog.
can't.
He
No,
only
I
responds to
just
one name.
not that.
I only
Okay,
respond.
anyway, I'll call you Todd from now on. I'm sorry, Todd.
Right, okay, Todd. What were we talking about? The score. The score in this film was I was really impressed by, especially Enfys. Enfys Nest. I think that's a lot of people's favorites from this track.
It was so different for Star Wars.
I first heard,
The choir,
Like,
it was like a children's.
was it
It sounded like
choir?
a mix of
Yeah.
children's and adult choir. I don't know, but
because I saw all the scenes they released on YouTube, and when one of them was when they
Savin.
meet Enfys on the refinery planet. Yeah. And like just hearing the theme, like for Enfys and what Han and the 30 hired guns and the Falcon before it just goes off, like that scene really like restored faith in the movie for me, or at least made me look forward to it. Like the music, the way it looked, all of it. So really,
I feel like it
partial to that theme
handled,
because of that.
the familiar notes that we've seen in like films before, in the Star Wars films before. I feel like it handled that really well as well.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot better than The Last Jedi, which just uses Rey's theme
yeah, I
and the
know.
Force theme.
I know. I mean, I liked The Last Jedi,
theme in,
but it was
in
very
general is so confusing because it's like part of the Force theme is in his, and then It's
And
like
so
the tones like change
Yeah.
so much during
It's
his
like-
theme. Like if you listen to it in full, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, like with The Last Jedi,
Yeah.
it's like there were
Yeah.
only 4 tracks that they could use for the whole movie. And with this, they incorporate the Millennium Falcon themes. We have like from A New Hope when it's escaping the Death Star. We have the
Kessel
Astro-
Fun.
Kessel
Yeah,
Fun
the Kessel
theme.
Fun.
intro.
I was
love
like,
hearing
yes.
that.
So it incorporates those into scenes with the Falcon, but it's not just.
You
those
know, I
tracks.
nearly, and this, I'm not normally sentimental about this stuff, so I don't know why, but I welled up a little bit. You know, when like the sheet gets pulled off the Falcon, and then like that
it
music
was-
plays. I can't even remember what music it is now. And it was like a really,
a
it was like a
forcing
different
note?
kind
Or
of
what
like
was it? It was,
rendition of like a previous.
No, it was the Millennium
But it was
Falcon
really
theme, or at least
slow,
one of the
right?
themes associated.
Yeah, and it was like dead,
Oh.
like it was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it was a
And then like the
different version
scene
of
where Han and Chewie both pulled the lever to like go into hyperspace.
Yes.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh, I almost
like-
cried at that the first time I saw the movie. I
So
was like,
cool.
that's so Star Wars.
It just the score was great. John Powell did an absolutely fantastic job.
Like I could feel Han's emotions when he was flying the Millennium Falcon,
Yes.
and I appreciated that so much. Like during
Yeah.
the movie, just knowing how.
Or when Lando told
excited
him
and...
to fly it,
Mm-hmm.
the look in his eyes. Oh my gosh,
Yeah, like the
Yes.
it really
magical
did.
feeling.
No, it was honestly, there were so many great moments in that film, and the score just really added to that. The score did not let it down. I feel like the score with Rogue One, while it had some good moments in it, it
Mhm.
also was kind of had some strange.
Really,
Strange
I
ones?
actually really like the road. Okay, the only new like Disney Star Wars movie tracks that I don't like, or like the soundtracks I don't like, is TLJ. I did not like
Oh.
that at
I like
all.
I like some things from The Last Jedi. I especially
I
like
did
the
not.
part where
Yeah.
there's a few notes, or not notes, I guess. There's a few there's like a little snippet. I can't remember what it's called now. I think it might even be called The Last Jedi. And it's when like Kylo realizes that Luke isn't real, and I love the music that plays then.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
That battle.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
Like, on
yeah,
Prey,
there's not
with-
really a lot
when
of
Luke walks out
new
in
tracks
that
in
fight.
that. Like
Yeah, it was all Reese.
there was
Yeah.
Rose's theme,
It's all
which was
recycled.
Oh
great.
yes,
Um,
Rose's theme. Yeah, that was the only
Mhm.
one. The only one.
Mm-hmm.
Fun with Finn
But
and
other than
Rose.
that, it was very, I don't know, just
You know.
underwhelming, uninspiring. I
Yeah.
guess.
You know what
to an extent.
Enfy's Nest theme reminded me of when I heard it? It reminded me of the Duel of the Fates. Just like that epic from Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
Is it
choir
when
music. Like epic choir music. type
Yes,
of-
yes,
Mm.
yes. It
Okay,
just
yeah, no, I
reminded
can
me
buy
of
that. Yeah,
And
I get
felt
that.
like the energy and like the I don't know, it was great. And I felt the intimidation even though, when she takes off the mask.
She's a BB.
She's a little girl. Oh, not a little girl, but she's a young woman. But
No, I reckon she's about 16.
Yeah, she's young.
yeah.
Yeah, she. I've
And
heard
is that
she's
the
good.
first
actress
time you
wasn't.
hear Han say kid? Right?
Oh, I don't know actually.
Ooh.
Bit rich
I
coming
think
from
so.
Han at that
I can
age,
call
isn't
him
it?
kid.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was like, you guys are both young. You guys are probably like 10 years, like 5 years apart or something. I don't know.
No, I think probably about 10 years. I think Han was 24.
Like 4.
Oh, was he?
In that
Okay,
film.
never mind.
Yeah. I think.
Was he?
28. He would be.
Was he 30 in A New
Cause-
Hope?
So would he be 20?
How long
heard
was he in the Imperial Navy?
Yeah.
Or,
Probably not that long.
and then.
Would just be 10 years younger than he was in A New
Oh,
Hope. He
but I
was
think-
30
I know
years-
he-
No,
Maybe
I think that
maybe
he was
35.
I think that he was 20 in the introduction scene,
Mm.
and then maybe he was like 23, 24, because it was like 3 years later, wasn't it? Like when he,
Oh, didn't it even
Yeah.
say how many years had gone by?
I think so. I think it was like 3 years. I think it was like 3
Was
years or
it?
something. Yeah, he was a trooper for quite a while.
Mm.
Yeah. So, Han was 32 in A New Hope, so he'd be 22
See,
here.
they're not that much. apart
By-
in age, him and
I suppose not, but
Eh,
Yeah.
7 years?
I mean, Rey and Kylo are 10 years apart, so.
Yeah.
so he's gonna call a kid.
That collective, yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
So I guess the only thing to discuss now is where it's going to go. Where is Solo going to go? Are we going to get sequels? Are we going to get semi-sequels where it's kind of like based off like Boba? I mean, the Boba film's already been announced, and I do really hope that it's I really do feel like they're connecting
something.
I feel like what they're doing is kind of creating their own mini cinematic universe for the anthology films, right? Because Rogue One felt very disconnected from like all the films, but I feel like what they're trying to do now is have almost like not like a straight up trilogy or a straight up saga, but kind of like their own mini cinematic universe built within the Star Wars one, and Maul is going to be the main villain of that.
I was thinking that we can tell that they're setting up Maul for somewhere, because you can't just introduce a character like that to the general audience and like say nothing. Well, I mean, they can, but I don't think Disney would do that. I'm sure they're planning sequels, or did plan, but with Solo underperforming, I'm not sure if they're still going to go ahead with them.
I don't know. I feel like Solo underperformed, but it didn't bomb.
Yeah.
And as much as like, you know, sensationalist media headlines will try and make you believe, and also there are reasons as to why it did, and it wasn't to do with the quality of the film.
Yeah, exactly, and that's my.
So I'm hoping that's got enough going for it, and they won't. I mean, the Boba Fett movie's already been made, so if it had anything to do with the Maul stuff, then it's gonna happen.
And I thought Kathleen Kennedy, before this movie even came out, said that she wanted a Lando movie, didn't she? Yeah.
She said she'd be interested in doing one, but what she said was, she got misquoted as well.
Oh, okay.
But what she said was something along the lines of, a Lando movie would be good, but he's not entirely relevant, and she'd rather do more stories of Han and Chewie. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Well, I mean.
But I'd really like to see what Ron Howard and Lawrence Kasdan can do with a film and John Kasdan, because it was John Kasdan as well, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Can do with a film that is completely theirs, and they don't have to worry about reshoots or anything like that. I'd really like to see what they can do with that opportunity.
God, it'd be so good. If this was a reshoot movie, goddamn, like.
Yeah. So I'm still hopeful that we'll see those movies, and I'm pretty sure we will. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm hoping that they see the reception that Solo's got, which is generally positive.
As far as the quality of the film.
I don't think I've seen anyone online.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Really hates it. I've mostly seen people liking it and people.
I've seen people refuse to see it, but apparently know everything about it and why it sucks. So hey, you know, they know everything, I guess.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But hey.
Yes. I mean, I definitely will buy a digital copy and an actual physical Blu-ray of this, and I will watch it repeatedly.
Well, I've done my bit. I've been to the cinema twice now to watch it.
Well,
so.
Me too.
I'll be going another time.
I would go another time. I went to TLJ like 3 times, I think.
I might go again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even see TLJ that many times. I think I only saw it like 5 times, and I saw TFA like 12 times.
Sorry, like
12 times.
Hang on, were you being sarcastic then?
No,
Were you just being sarcastic? I didn't see The Last Jedi too many times. I only saw it 5 times.
You can check my Reddit post history, and I stated somewhere the amount of times and what formats I've seen them in.
But you just said. Can we just go back to that? I haven't seen The Last Jedi that many times. I only saw it 5 times.
I know.
In the cinema.
In the cinema.
All in the cinema.
Paid in the cinema.
You watched.
I watched TFA 12.
You watched a movie.
You watched TFA 12 times.
12 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
But it was worth it. I was so happy for that movie.
Doing your part.
I mean, it was a good movie, but 12
times. I was scared that they weren't gonna make any more after this. I was like, yeah, they bought Star Wars, but like,
what?
If this does bad, then I'm never gonna see another movie. I'm never gonna.
You really thought that The Force Awakens was gonna do badly.
Okay, this was my thought process. The last time I saw a Star Wars movie in theaters was Episode 3. Right. And this was like halfway through the movie. We had just got in, and I really wanted to see it because this is when I was like really getting into Star Wars. Like I was always into Star Wars, but like I'd never gone to the movies to see one as a kid. So I saw like half of it, and then this was like my first actual like Star Wars movie, like full on. Like I was into it. I started getting into speculation, and yeah, it was a really big deal for me at the time.
Well, it's because Revenge of the Sith bombed so spectacularly that George Lucas actually had to sell the company from going into debt. That's what happened.
But
It's a really sad story. It's a really sad story of Star Wars. It's just so I can understand why you were so scared that Star Wars would be a financial bomb, and that you had to see The Force
I think
Awakens
that's
12
my
times to
favorite
save it.
movie, and
I
we
want to
have
give
to.
all my money.
Oh God!
Just take all my money.
Oh God!
12 times.
12 times.
12
My
times.
Lord,
It was
girl.
amazing.
Were you not bored by the 12th time?
No, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I don't know what it was about that
Wow.
movie. Now I get kind of bored of it, but at the time I was like, "This is the most amazing thing ever."
Jeez.
I get bored of movies quite quickly when I rewatch them. Like I have to leave. I probably see if I see them twice in like a pretty short period of time, then that'll probably do me for like
A few
quite a
months.
while.
Oh.
But I don't know. I mean, I can understand it. I mean, the Force Awakens was a great movie. I think, but like I said, I think that well, no, I haven't said this actually. I think that I had as good a time with Solo than I did the Force Awakens. I think the only reason why the Force Awakens might be like a little bit more up there for me was because it was like the first Star Wars
Yeah.
movie back.
Right, right.
Everyone
like, part
and
of the
their
saga.
mother saw it. It was
Yes.
amazing. With TLJ, I honestly thought I was gonna see it more. I wanted to see it more, but I don't know why I didn't. And now I watch the movie like constantly, like on a loop at home. But I really wanted to experience it more times in theaters, especially the throne room scene. Like just on a big screen, it was just visually the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi is a film that every time I watch it, I like it even more.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah, because I didn't like it the first time I watched it, but every time I watch it now, I'm like, I appreciate it more and more. I find less things wrong with it and more things right with it, which is kind of the opposite of what I have with The Force Awakens to some degree.
Yeah, like for what you said earlier about all the like most of the jokes landing in TFA, I don't know, like there was more cringy moments for me in that. And like especially in TLJ, like so many jokes did not land, and it was such a shame because that movie, I felt I was hoping it would be more like Empire, where it's like more serious notes.
Yeah, that movie had the drama nailed down. I just don't think the humor wise, it felt all tacked in. It felt like this movie's way too dark. We need to add some humor into it, and some of it worked. A lot of it didn't. But hey, I mean, you can't get things perfect all the time. One question I will ask before we wrap up the Solo talk: what was your favourite joke / funny moment in the film?
Do you need anything? Oh, what was it? Equal rights?
Oh yeah, the
that
L3.
was- Yeah, that was
For me, it was the Calrissian Chronicles.
Yes!
That caught me so off guard. It caught me so off guard. I just wasn't expecting it at all, and I cracked up so hard in that
wow.
scene. Like,
Yeah, it was so funny.
So funny.
it just summed up Lando's
It did.
character, especially like
He was
so
his-
serious.
Yeah, and he was like being all smooth. He's like Calrissian Chronicles. Never.
I know.
Oh god,
So
it's gold.
funny.
I think that will never get off me. And also the part where so Beckett's in the turret and he starts using all this like weird Star Wars jargon to Han, and Han's in the end Han is like, well, are they or aren't they? Like,
Yes.
that was so
He
funny
started
to
using
me.
all these.
I can't remember. I need to remember them now.
Man.
I need to remember the analogies because I'm gonna have to use them for future reference.
Well, my favorite on-running joke was when L3 told like that droid to like, I don't know, free your brothers and sisters, and they kept all like taking off
It was-
like, that little device on
It
them.
was congratulations, you're liberated. Go free your brothers and sisters.
Oh yeah, that was so funny. And you see all the droids like
And then
running
the
out
little
and,
gonk droid just like stomping on the things like.
yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
panel. Yeah, I loved all the droid stuff. And, yeah,
What about you, Todd? What was the funniest moment for you in Solo?
he's gone again.
I think my favorite joke or funny moment was "I hate you, I know."
That was
Between
Oh, Lando and
Lando and
Han.
Han.
Yeah, that was great.
Just the play on the famous line from Empire.
But like that wasn't that wasn't like an affectionate "I hate you." That was like
genuinely
I hate you.
I know.
I hate you.
Which is why,
I know.
like, a lot of people... Well, no, I wouldn't have said a lot of people. But one of my biggest worries going into Solo was this will be the last time Han and Lando meet. But I definitely don't think that's the case now, given how their relationship left off in... It would be really weird if that's how their relationship left off. Because you kind of do get the feelings that, okay, yeah, there's a bit of, like... There's a bit of distrust between them, but they are still friends, whereas you definitely don't get that vibe off them in, at the end of Solo. Like, they don't really like each other. Especially, I don't think Lando likes Han, especially. But I feel like that wraps up Solo talk. So we're heading over into the community segment, the last segment of the podcast. So, if you have a topic for us to discuss in future podcasts, you can go to our subreddit at our Kessel Fun. And if you go onto the speculation topic suggestions, you'll find a thread there. And you can give us little suggestions, maybe what topics you'd like to see be discussed by us in future episodes of the podcast. So make sure you do that. There's also a Q&A segment. You can ask us questions that we will answer on the podcast. You can also ask us questions in the YouTube comment section or on the Discord. So, you know, if you have any questions you want to ask us at all, it can be Star Wars or non-Star Wars related. It can be silly or serious. Just head on over to any of them 3 platforms and ask away. But, Lai, you prepared a couple of questions for us. So, do you want to read them out?
Sure. The first question I have for you guys is, what syndicates do you want to see in a film or TV show?
I'd like to see Black Sun.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But in a film. Because we've seen them in TV shows, but Black Sun I think would be quite cool. Does Death Watch count as a syndicate?
Death Watch was more of a terrorist organization,
Yeah.
if anything.
Well, apples
so
and
not really
oranges,
syndicate.
right?
Although-
I'm just kidding.
Apples and oranges, swings and
They were a
roundabouts.
large
you know?
part of Maul's little crime syndicate thing, so
So if we see Crimson
Yeah.
Dawn, then
they could be a part of that.
Oh yeah, especially I feel like I think Kara might be important enough to be featured again. You know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely. If not in a film, then. But I think she will be part of the film. I think she will be in Han's sequel. If there is
Oh,
one. Hopefully.
This syndicate wasn't featured in any films or shows or anything, but the droid syndicate that was featured in Most Wanted, the company novel.
Ooh.
Oh,
That'd be cool to see a
Aye.
droid syndicate.
the Droid Syndicate. What's that?
It's exactly what it is. It's a droid syndicate. It's
Yes, in the
So it's just full
Afro
of
comics,
evil droids.
000 took over like a syndicate and became head of that.
Oh snap! I love 000 so much.
Damn.
Yeah,
Oh, I was.
it didn't last very long, but
Mhm.
who knows?
And the second question is, who would win in a fight between Padme and Leia?
Padme.
Yeah.
Leia.
Well,
I say Padme.
Leia.
I'd say
Right. Okay.
Leia.
Okay. Is it a blaster fight or is it a fist fight?
Ooh,
I was thinking blaster, but I mean,
Leia.
I'm thinking
Fist-
fist fight. Leia would
I
win
mean,
in a fist fight.
I think Leia's
Because-
been through the whole rebellion and has actually
Oh, yeah,
fought in a
that's
war for
true.
like years.
That
While
is
Padme has a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as Leia.
I just think about Padme in the Clone War or
Aggressive
Attack of the Clones.
negotiations.
I just reckon it'll be a brutal
Ooh.
fight. I reckon there'll be like hair pulling and like scratching. And...
Dress ruining.
Mother-daughter.
Maybe. Oh no! Wait, it's got to get a bit weird now.
Well, if you make it weird,
When I
Sam,
remember, like,
you
the-
Yeah,
make
you made it weird.
Well, we've had father and son. We've had Luke and
Yeah.
Vader fight.
Ooh.
So,
Exactly. What if Padme
but we haven't had.
stayed alive,
It's poetry.
but stayed on the side of Anakin against their
Oh my
kids?
god.
And, like,
What?
Stop.
Well, then Leia would have a lightsaber.
Would-
Oh, hang on a minute. Padme stayed alive,
Yeah.
but stayed
Yeah.
with Vader.
So she was.
So the
well,
kids-
they were like, it's just basically parents against the kids, like
So,
during
What
the
if
rebellion.
Padme stayed alive, Vader got Leia,
Oh, and
Padme got Luke.
Ooh.
so then
That-
Leia and
Leia
Luke were like
definitely
pitted
the
against each other.
wingman.
Yeah.
Luke
Yeah.
That
and
happened
Padme
in,
are like the softies in their
Soft boys.
family, and like
Soft boys.
Leia's freaking hardcore, so she would be
Yeah.
a perfect apprentice for
in one of
Vader.
the old comics, the ones with like what ifs, I think it was the In New Hope one.
Oh yeah, I remember them.
Leia was captured by Vader
Mhm.
after the Battle of Yavin,
Mm.
and he like trained her and turned her
Really?
to the dark
Oh,
You
And
need
then
to give
she
me
and
the
Luke
number of
fight.
those.
Snap.
Yeah,
It's
I need
a-
to see that.
Who wins?
side. I think that Luke turns Leia
Oh,
back to the light
that's
and
boring.
Vader. I mean, what's he gonna do?
See, sometimes being a softie does help.
No, but
You
it
know
was
what,
in the
Sam?
Star Wars. I think it
I
was
know
Star
whose
Wars
side you'd be on.
Infinity's A New Hope. 5 issues.
Hmm?
I don't know, man. I think the Vader with a Leia apprentice would be pretty sick. So
Because even Yoda wanted to train Leia and not Luke.
Ooh.
Yeah. He didn't want. Well, actually, no. To be fair, he didn't want Luke because he was worried that he would turn to the dark side. So maybe Leia wouldn't be this great apprentice then for Vader.
No, man.
Hmm.
But I think Leia
don't know.
would win in a fight between her and her mom.
Nah.
I thought you said Padme.
She changed her mind.
But okay, but I created a convincing argument.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I just had that decision on my own before.
What's Padme gonna do? Use her politics?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
She's gonna fight with words.
That's gonna end like Han and Beckett.
She doesn't have to
Um,
fight. Maybe Anakin would interfere. I'm just kidding.
What would be the What would be the scenario where these two fight?
Disagreeing over Vader's redemption.
Oh, so like Padme would be like, yeah, Anakin can be redeemed,
Yeah.
and Leia's like, no,
So
he's
like, is Padme old, or is this?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
So I'm like,
Yeah, I was
Is
thinking.
this-
I was thinking
no,
Natalie
no, no, no.
Portman and like
This
young
could
Carrie Fisher.
This could happen in World Between Worlds.
yeah.
There we
Meet up.
go.
We need to start. We should do this every episode. We should pick two characters to go in between the
Fight.
world between worlds.
At what
and
age
who would win
and
the
what
fight?
skill?
Would it maybe be like young Padme and old Leia?
Ooh.
I still go with Leia.
I would go.
Yeah,
with
like
Leia.
I reckon she's only become more ruthless as she's got older.
That's true. She is hella hardcore as an older woman. So
You're
Yeah.
demoted.
you're demoted.
She slapped Poe.
You're demoted.
Carrie slapped him like what 20 times or something.
Yeah.
Jesus Lord.
She survived being sucked out into space. That's pretty hardcore. Padme would probably
She
die
gave
in
birth
like
to
2
Kylo
seconds.
Ren. That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
Now I reckon Kylo Ren was a good kid. He only became a little bit off the rails maybe when he
Yeah.
started to get
No,
like.
he was always a
10?
crybaby.
He's always emo, man.
Yeah, he was always emo.
That's true.
And Han said he had
That's true.
ancient
Once
eyes.
you know, you
Oh,
Mm.
stop.
Oh, I know. Dude, last shot. God.
Uncle Wando.
Uncle Wando.
I wonder what Lando and Ben's relationship was like.
Good.
Like I wonder like
It was
when the last
amazing.
time they
Oh,
talked.
I don't know.
Did we tell
Wait.
you about this, Sam? How
Lando
Yeah,
left
yeah,
a blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that too.
What book was this?
Last shot.
Bloodline?
Or Bloodline.
What book was this?
No.
Yeah.
Last
he
shot.
gave him the blaster in the third Aftermath book, or at least he was thinking about doing it
Mm.
before he was born as like a.
Oh yeah, and he
Gift.
was talking to Lobar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There
He
you go.
wanted to get him some capes too.
Nice.
And now he has
And
caves.
now,
Yeah.
look at him.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's where he got his
Maybe.
cape from.
That's my.
Lando was
headcanon,
like,
that
"Hey."
he got his fashion sense from his uncle Lando.
Yes. Dude, he is really well dressed for a villain.
Yeah.
It would be. I would actually really like because didn't he? Wasn't there something about in the book as well? Like if you can't speak to your dad,
Yes.
come to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I would love it if that was if that could possibly be a scene in
Yeah.
episode 9.
Ooh.
Lando and Ben.
Yes.
And what would Lando be like? Would Lando be like, yeah, good job, you killed your
No,
dad.
he
Well done,
probably
thanks.
tell him like it's okay to feel like down or whatever, but don't let it consume you or something like that.
And then he'd probably tell him like a story about how his dad was like,
Yeah.
what his dad was
Oh,
like
yeah.
at his age.
Maybe
That would
Lando
be-
would
You know, how he was like a
yeah,
scoundrel
We all
and-
make mistakes, man.
Yeah, and then
And I've murdered
and
a
then
few
he-
in my life.
We all kill our dads.
Yeah.
He's like, I hated my dad too.
and then they
betrayed
would
your dad, too.
like crack open like the equivalent of a beer or something
Yeah.
and be like, yeah,
The
it's hard,
Carillion
man.
whiskey.
Yeah, Carillion whiskey.
Pretty sure they
Carillion
do have beer in Star Wars.
Yes.
But yeah, that's canon. That's for real.
That is now
Yeah.
headcanon. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're saving Lando because they want him in that scene.
With
Who knows?
Carrie
Probably
gone,
not.
I can see him returning because Carrie's gone.
He needs a
Han is
parent.
dead.
I still think her death by itself would help him along
That's true.
to turn.
I have had such solo brain. I haven't thought about episode 9 in a while, man. Like,
I haven't
Yeah.
really, to be honest with you.
but yeah, that's the end of the questions I have for the team. So.
Okay, well we'll do that. I like that idea though. I like pitting two characters. Like, next week we can do. I don't know who we can do. I don't want to spoil it for next week, but we'll do 2 different characters next week, and we'll just. It could be like Sidious B. Crumb and like
Delicious.
Jab Jabba the Hutt. No,
And
like
an
Jar Jar
Ewok
No.
or
Binks.
something.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Scalicious
then-
Beak
Wait,
Oh my
What's
God.
Jabba's Rada the Hutt versus Scalicious Beakrum?
Well, Rotto the Hutt might be like older by then.
And let's
Well,
see if
how old is he gonna be here? We got
the world between
Teenage
worlds.
Hut.
50.
Yeah, World Between
80,
Worlds. It don't matter.
80,
You don't age.
Well, I feel like we need to specify the age of the characters when we write them down because this got way too confusing, actually. So
I was thinking young Padme, young Leia.
I was thinking young Padme, young Leia.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, well, we're on the same wavelength there, but I feel like we need to, like, you know. Because then you could have, like, really old Vader and, like, what about, like, Anakin and Vader? Could they fight?
Vader.
Depends on what Anakin.
Yeah, which like episode 2 Anakin where he's just like reckless.
3.
Can you
or,
meet
like-
Can you meet yourself in the world between worlds?
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
You can
it's-
because Ezra.
Well, you can't anymore. It's
Oh.
gone.
Well, I thought Ezra
Thanks,
saw him.
Todd.
I thought Ezra saw himself, like when he was running to
No,
the ship.
that
He heard Kanan
yeah.
and everybody else. So
No, but
I mean-
remember when he saved Ahsoka and he saw himself
Yeah.
running to the ship, and then Ahsoka saw him.
Oh, you're right. Wait, yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you can see yourself in the world between
Yeah.
worlds then.
I mean, there was also that Mortis thing when Ahsoka met her older self.
oh, that's
That's true.
true.
Yeah. Maybe that was also a World Between Worlds portal thing.
No, because that wouldn't make sense. Because if the this is how the world between worlds is kind of like weird to me. If the future's always in motion,
Yeah.
but time there's not like a specific place in time that like said this is where we're at now, then how can the world between worlds exist?
Well, it's all fluid anyway because, like, I guess time travel is weird, and not sure how Star Wars is. We have like I always view the world between worlds like those were windows looking
Yeah.
out, and some of them you can enter, but not all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
Just like
so like they were all like different alternate universes
well,
as well.
maybe not. Just like you're peering through time, but it could change, I guess, because we know that the future isn't set
Yes,
in Star Wars.
I feel that if you like again, if you would like have Ahsoka come back, then that would change like the past events that happened before she went into like the present, if that makes sense.
Oh, this is wrecking my head.
So I feel like like you should be only allowed to enter like your time, like your timeline or whatever, like what events you're a part of, because then that could just cause like a
Hella
bunch
crap.
of-
Yeah.
yeah, that could cause a bunch of problems. I would love to see that in a comic or something. Just like not like even if it's like a non like canon thing,
Yeah.
just to have like a comic series of like okay like here's a what if new what ifs, you know, and it's like they have this platform, but it's like if we see it on screen then oh we canon, but like if they have this like comic thing then it's like oh like these are what ifs, like you know, because we have this
I love that. I'd
Well,
love that.
little
Yeah,
thing.
that'd be great.
Was it Ezra going into the world between worlds the will of the Force, or was that like bending the will? It opened up for him.
Yeah, it opened
I'd
up
say it was the
for
will of
him.
the Force.
Oh yeah. So it was meant to happen, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, the Mortis gods let him in.
hmm Yeah, what you said, Liz, about an older Ahsoka showing up in Rebels. No, not Rebels. In Clone Wars, like that was also on Mortis, and the Mortis gods were on the doorway to the world between worlds. So it's definitely possible that there's a strong connection there.
Yeah.
Because like I view the world between worlds as like showing the way the Force is everywhere, all throughout time,
Okay.
and just like ways to tap into that. Which is like people already do that. They can see into the future. They can see stuff like that.
It wasn't bending the will of the Force by saving
Yeah.
Ahsoka, though.
Because like we have the owl, the
Yeah, the
daughter
Yeah.
was guiding Ezra. So I guess you could say
Yeah.
he had her blessing
If she's
to go ahead.
I suppose so.
if she's the light side of the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, not about that.
Like I would imagine, like for someone like a dark side user, you would have to like sacrifice someone or like to open
Jesus
it.
Christ.
Like,
Whoa.
Smear
That
their
would be
blood on
pretty
the
yeah,
the door
and
handle
it's
of it.
like, yeah, some like weird voodoo night sister shit.
I was looking on the subreddit today, and maybe I don't know when it was posted, but it must have been only a couple days ago. Some guy had like posted this like super complicated diagram of how Sidious could be alive and how he might show up in episode 9. It was like, did no one see this?
No.
I'll see if I can find it now. Hang
Yeah.
on. It was really like.
Was it good?
Whoa.
It was so like.
I don't
No
know.
offense.
Savage.
No offense to the guy. I mean, I guess like if you really,
You're a mod.
it would be like
Just
right.
kidding.
It's true though. Look, okay, I found it. So it was done by a guy. All right, this will be our speculation of the week then, dead quick.
Here we go.
It was done by Aggressive Jellyfish, right?
Mhm.
Full credit to
Sick
him.
name.
For whatever
What
that's
up?
worth.
Calling him out.
Calling him out for this shit. Right. Oh shit, can I swear on this?
No.
I
Well, I
don't
can
know,
now.
Well,
podcast.
so far-
Hang on.
Why? So far, we've only said the S word.
Yeah,
We've said it like 3 times already.
I know.
Well, we can use soft swear like
Soft
swear
swear
words.
words? Oh my god.
I mean, if it's good enough to be in almost solo
Yes.
in Last
Yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah, we're allowed to say shh.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it.
Did you just cut it? Just cut it so it says that.
Oh my god,
Yes.
just like mid-sentence.
Shh. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I clicked
I've
on
linked it. I've linked it.
Wow.
Oh, I was.
So it seems to be right. So it seems to be. It gets so confusing. So he kills Darth Plagueis, right? And then he.
Oh.
His old self comes back to teach his new self, and then his current self. Wait, what? His current self goes to the window between worlds, meets his old self. Oh, I don't know. I don't even.
Wait.
understand.
Wasn't so.
Whoa.
Oh my
What the
god!
heck?
Oh my god!
That's
I love
too
this.
Oh,
much.
Wow.
It's
I
gonna
love
take
this.
them. It's gonna take them half a movie to explain
love
this
this.
shit.
Please,
Look,
this is the
no,
best thing ever.
they can hand out these diagrams to the, to the movie
In the
patrons.
cinema. Oh, here you go. If you don't understand this, by the way, Palpatine survived, and he's in episode 9. It's like don't open it. They'll hand it in an envelope, and they're like, they don't open it until like we tell you to. And then when like Sidious shows back up, they're like, right now open this,
Okay.
because
So-
we don't have time to
Wait,
explain it
can
in
we
the film.
read
So
these?
just read
Can
them.
we read these out loud?
Okay, so Todd, you can do 1.
Mhm.
Liz, you do 2. I'll do 3. Lai, you do 4. Liz, you do 5 again, and I'll do 6. Okay.
Okay.
So Todd, you go.
Okay, sometime after killing Darth Plagueis before becoming Emperor, Darth Sidious uses Sith alchemy to access the world between worlds to save his future self from certain death.
After being thrown down the reactor shaft of Death Star 2, Sidious from the future is caught by his past self via the world between worlds portal and is teleported to the past.
Sidious from the future tells his past self everything that he needs to know and to be prepared for the future. After this meeting, his future self retreats to the unknown regions, which he had completely mapped out when he sensed a threat there. That was actually himself this entire time.
Using the information from his future self, Sidious goes on a mission to take control of the galaxy and destroy the Jedi. His meeting with his future self would explain how he is able to foresee everything during the prequels and the originals to consolidate his power as a galactic emperor.
Oh.
His past self managed to cheat death by creating a loop where he can live eternally.
Oh my
However, this means that he created a predestination paradox in which he shaped his past self to become the emperor, but also how he is supposed to be saved. Hence, Sidious is doomed to fall in the reactor shaft of Death Star 2 forever if he wants to cheat death every time.
Oh.
His future self can now cryogenically freeze himself to wake up later to consolidate power again after his other self teleports back to the past and after Operation Cinder happens.
Since Operation Cinder was triggered upon his death, and some Imperials still held on to the ideals of the Empire, aka the First Order, would Sidious have taken Snoke as his apprentice and secretly pulled the strings this entire time? Would Sidious reveal himself upon Snoke's death?
Oh my god, please, yes!
I mean,
Unironically
bravo.
want this to
love
happen now.
I give him props for doing all of this and not only incorporating like Rebels and freaking the prequels and like OT, but also including ST and Battlefront 2
And the books.
and the
Aftermath.
books. Yes.
Look, it's possible, but it ain't gonna happen.
It's gonna
There's no
happen.
way.
It's gonna happen.
I'm full on board
Could
with
you
this
imagine him
now.
doing this really long
know what,
monologue, like when he comes
y'all?
back?
This is great.
I'm going with this. This is
Yes, I
This
hope
is
they hand
amazing.
out the diagrams at the...
yeah.
Please do. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this podcast. But
Come on. Leave on
And
the
it
high
has
note.
66 comments.
Oh my
Oh.
lord.
oh yes! Nobody comment on this. Nobody comment on
They're
this.
gonna
Please,
comment
no,
now.
no.
Somebody
Lock
will.
the thread, Sam.
Just for our personal enjoyment.
so
Oh my
perfect.
god.
I'm gonna upvote it. Okay, anyway. On that note, Liz, would you like to give out the coordinates?
Yes, I would. If you'd like to find us in a galaxy far, far away, you can find us on our subreddit at Kessel Fun, Twitter at Kessel Fun, YouTube Kessel Fun Podcast, SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Kessel Fun Podcast. We are also available on Pocket Cast. Just type in Kessel Fun Podcast, and also on YouTube at Kessel Fun Podcast. Click below to subscribe to our channel. And click on the notification bell to see all our new content first. Be sure to give this a big thumbs up, and see you around, kids.